Probably the most well-known story in all of God's Word, I would say. Look at verse 1. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. Now before we even go one step further, who was made first? The serpent or the woman? The serpent. The animals were created before the woman. Remember that. So this woman here, has she seen every animal in the entire world? Of course not. That's impossible. If we saw a talking snake today, we'd say, hey, 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 what's going on here? You don't talk. She doesn't have that luxury, does she? She doesn't know. So now let's read on. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden. Now I want you to stop right there. Read that wording again with me. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden. Now, would you say by that wording that, let's say this is the tree in the midst of the garden, was she standing here? No. She's saying something similar to that tree over there. That tree over there. She was referring to that tree over there. We see that she said, well, we can't eat it. We can't even touch it. Well, now that was her own interpretation. Maybe her husband was nagging her. Not that us husbands ever nag, do we, brethren? No. We just strongly inform sometimes. But maybe he said, now listen, just stay away from it. Don't even touch it. Don't even look at it. Don't even go over there. That's what I'd say. So she says, but that tree which is in the midst of the garden, and I don't mean to put words in God's mouth, but I believe we can say pretty clearly that she wasn't standing here. So it was there. So then let's look. In verse 3 again, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die. Well, that was a lie. That was a lie, and this is what Satan's biggest and best act is. He'll take the skin of a truth and stuff it with the biggest lie he can find. So it looks true, but it really contains many lies and much deception. Now, when they got done with this, did they die? No. So the spiritual struggle then comes into place because now she goes, well, wait a minute. We didn't die. But they did die later. Imagine when they were about, let's see, what's middle age for us, Bud? When did you start feeling like, does anybody know what I'm talking about? Like you get out of bed and go, oh! 60s? Well, he don't count. I'm going for 45. I'm going for 45. When I got out of the bed and, hey. Imagine when Eve was about 500 years old. She'd lived all this time. Now the curse was put on them, yes, but she didn't die. But when she was 500, maybe she went over and looked in the lake and she looked down there. What are those cracks in my skin? What are these weird places on my hand? Oh! Who knows, Suddenly it dawned on her, hey, things are not the same as they were 300 years ago. Which we can't relate to that. But let's read on then. Look at verse 4 then. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good, well, hold it. Hold it right there. And this is the message that I want you to get. The path to sin. Somewhere in this discourse here, this conversation, her and the serpent, they made it over to the tree, didn't they? They made it, however far it was. Maybe it was only a few paces. Maybe it was a tenth of a mile. We don't know. If you're 900 years old when you're dying, when you're 100, you could probably run 50 miles, you know. But there was a distance, some distance there. And I want to talk to you about that this morning, the rosy path to sin. I wrote some things down here. I hope you'll listen to me for a moment. The path to sin is the most beautiful place you've ever seen in your life. It's not uphill at all, but instead, listen, it's a gentle descent. The whole way. A gentle, gentle descent. There are no rocks to sprain your ankles on. There's no quicksand to worry about. There's no thorny vines covering the pathway that will scratch you or to slow you down or to hold you up or encumber your journey. And the sun is always on your face, and the wind is always on your back. The rosy pathway to sin is a beautiful, wonderful place. That gentle little morning stroll that her and the serpent took that morning was just fine. There were no problems all the way over to the tree. Everything was fine. You say, how do you know that, Pastor Thompson? Because I know sin. I know it better than I wish I did. And I know Satan. I don't know a whole lot in this life, Lee Brown, but I know the devil. And I know sin. And I know temptation. And this pathway to sin was gorgeous. Was gorgeous. Now, hold your place there and turn with me to Judges chapter 14. I want to show you another person who encountered that rosy path to sin. In Judges chapter 13, there's a man of Zorah. His name was Manoah. Him and his wife were good, God-fearing people. And they were to become Samson's parents. His wife was barren up till this point. And an angel came and said, you're going to have a child, and the Lord wants you to raise him as a, boy, the word just left me. Can't even believe that. Nazarite. Thank you, sir. I kept thinking Nazarene, and that's not it. Jesus was a Nazarene, but Samson was a Nazarite. What did that mean? A couple things. He wasn't allowed to drink any fruit of the vine, not even grape juice, nothing that had grapes in it. He wasn't even allowed to eat raisins. Brethren, the heat is cranking, so the coat is going. We were just talking about that just a minute ago. Yes, that hot and cold. But so, one other thing. He's not allowed to touch any dead body, human or otherwise. Okay, this is part of the Nazirite vow. And then, of course, we know what's the last one. Everybody knows the last one. His hair. Let his hair grow. Okay? Now look at verse 1 of chapter 14. And Samson, now he's a grown man, okay? Samson went down to Timnath. Notice he went where? Down. He went down. And saw a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Guys, just stay away from them women. That'd be your downfall. It's not their fault, okay? Just because they're good looking, that's not their fault, okay? But he saw a woman in Timnath, the daughters of the Philistines. He's a Jew. By rights, he has no business being down there. Now you say, but no, wait a minute, the Lord was using him. Yes, I know that. Let's read on. We'll get there. Don't get ahead of me. Now look at verse 2. And he came up and told his father and his mother and said, I have seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore get her for me to wife. Then his father and his mother said unto him, Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines? See, he was breaking the law. He's breaking the law, breaking Jewish law. And Samson said unto his father, Get her for me, for she pleaseth me well. I'm going to tell you right now, Samson was spoiled. He was a spoiled guy to be saying those kind of things to his parents. Now look at verse 4. But his father and his mother knew not that it was of the Lord, that he sought an occasion against the Philistines. For at that time the Philistines had dominion over Israel. So wait a minute. So now here's the rub. So you're telling me it's God's will for Samson to forsake his heritage and his upbringing? No. It's like this. God looks at Samson and says, You're a knucklehead anyways, but I can still use you. You're going to do what you want to do, Samson, because you're bullheaded and worldly and stubborn and selfish. But guess what? I can still use that man. Right here. And God says, I can still use him. Now look at verse 5. Then went Samson where? Down. He went down again. And his father and his mother to Timnath. Now, he's got mom and dad in on this. Well, they probably want to see the little lady, okay? Let's go. If this is what you want, let's go do it. Let's go take care of this. And came to the what? Hold it. Is he supposed to be there? No, he's a Nazirite. And now, not only is he there, who else is there? We're going to talk about all these things. So then you know the story. The lion comes against him. He tears the lion in half. And then he goes back later. The dead lion there's the honeycomb inside of the lion's carcass. He reaches in there, grabs honey, and what's he do with it? Look at verse 9. And he took thereof in his hands and went on eating, and came to his father and mother, and he gave them, and they did eat. But he told not them that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion. Now look at verse 10. So his father went down unto the woman, and Samson made there a feast, for so used the young men to do. And it came to pass, when they saw him, that they brought 30 companions to be with him. Now these people are Jews or Philistines? Philistines. Jews are way on up the coast. This is Gaza. This is down. This is close to Egypt. It's probably 50, 70 miles from Egypt. It's way down the coastline. And it's right, Timnath is a coastal city. I want to show you a couple things here between these two stories. And we might throw Jonah in there in a little bit. But just a couple of thoughts for you, folks, about this rose-covered, beautiful path to sin. There is danger in wanting something you don't already have. There's danger in that. And Satan, as the serpent, built that desire inside of Eve, didn't he? Well, look at that beautiful fruit over there. Look at it. Look at how gorgeous that fruit is. Now, I forget where I was, but I was talking to somebody about fruit, and we were shopping at like one of these the bigger Walmarts, even for the big ones. This was a Whopper, and we were down in Cincinnati, and I was talking to my granddaughter. She's 5, and I was saying, do you like pears? Do you like apples? And she says, I like dragon fruit. When I was 5, I didn't even know what a dragon fruit was or what it looked like. That's where our society is today. We're open to all different kinds of things. And dragon fruits are really cool looking. They're just different. I really like the star fruit looking, I don't know that I want to eat it. It looks like something made out of wax. But, you look at it and say, do you peel that? Do you peel them? Anybody eat one? I never had the guts. You peel it? Okay. Looks like you're eating a star fish or something. But anyway, imagine the woman and the serpent. He's going to build that fruit up, that forbidden fruit, and say, look at how beautiful it is. He's going to make it attractive. Christian, there's a danger in wanting things you don't already have. Be careful about that. Be cautious. And we, of course, have a society now and a media that they're hooked on buying stuff all the time. And the news media, the commercials, what's their job? Their job is to create desire within your mind to have all this stuff. I think about my grandparents. And I remember thinking this about many things in my grandparents' house, at their farms and so forth, looking at a chair, thinking, as a kid, I'm thinking, that chair looks like it's 200 years old. What would you want that for? Because you don't have to pay anything for it. First of all, it's already been paid for a long time. How about that? Number 2, it's reliable. You use it all the time, so you know it works. Number 3, you can give that to your children when you're ready to go. Give them something that means something. There's a danger, folks, in this consumer society. But that's okay, because I think that consumer society, she's coming to a close real soon. And the new kid on the block is going to be Goodwill. That's where we're going to be shopping. The way we're headed now, you better get to liking good. I don't like to go to Goodwill. You better fall in love with it real quick. Because these other places are not going to, they're going to have 99% off sale, and it's still not going to work. But there is a danger in this always desiring to have things, have experiences. I remember the first time I heard somebody talking about bungee jumping. That's what you need to try there, brother. Did you really? God bless you. You're here to tell the tale, aren't you? What I always thought was, if I tried bungee jumping, I'd get the one that's already stretched out too far, It'd be like, bam, 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 bam. Now, probably not, but I don't want to test the Lord, I don't want to tempt fate like that. I really don't. But, we have a society that, and how many of you seen it? When I say this phrase, some of you will know what I'm talking about. I bet Steve knows. Parkour. You know what parkour is? Well, let's go jump off of a building and see if we live. They do this stuff. They jump from one building to the next and things. I saw a man. I almost, calm down, mind. I got to remember, 59 3/4. I can't do that. I almost jumped down there. But you'd be picking me up. But this guy, he jumped off the edge of a building about this far and grabbed onto a light post and slid all the way down. It was 3 stories high. You're out of your mind. Why? Because somebody has created desire in them for death. And Satan is telling this generation, you can defy death. It's the same story. Thou shalt not surely die. It's the same thing, folks. Be cautious. There's danger in wanting things you don't already have. Something else. There's danger in going somewhere you haven't already been. You say, well, what are you talking about? I love to travel. I understand that. I understand that. Who doesn't love to travel? I want to say this to you. In your travels, Christian, make sure you're going places where Jesus is welcome. Make sure you're going places where Jesus can go along and where he would approve of. Because whether you know it or not, he is going. He is with you. Maybe we should try something like this. Would Jesus be pleased with me walking into this place? And we were just talking about this the other day. You can, as a pastor, I'm very conscious about these things. I will eat food at a restaurant that serves alcohol, but I will not eat food at a bar that sells food. And I know it got quiet. That's okay. I don't like going to Texas Roadhouse because I'm just ready to break out my boots and start line dancing. Well, it's like I'm in the boot scoot. I don't feel like a Christian has any place in there. Now, if you don't feel like that, you do what the Lord tells you. But see, that's the point. Do what the Lord tells you, not what your desire tells you. I don't like going to Applebee's because you open the doors, and what's right in front of you? The bar. That is a bar that sells food. That's not a restaurant that sells alcohol. You say, well, man, preacher, that's really splitting hair. Well, and maybe it is. Just be careful. All I'm saying to you is this. Be careful where you go. Be careful where you go. That Jesus is welcome there. That Jesus would approve of that. I'm not your boss. I don't mean to police that. And don't go home and say, well, pastor doesn't go to here and here, so we better not go. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying ask the question from the Lord. Okay, that's none of my business, really. But ask the question from the Lord. Say, Father, are you pleased? Are you happy with this? Something else is there's a danger in associating with people you don't already know. You know, I've heard this from many, many Christian young people. Well, I got this new boyfriend, and his parents just love me. You know why that is? It's because you're a good, clean Christian girl, and they're used to the filth and scum he usually brings home. And so you look nice and clean and prettied up to them. But inside, what's in your heart, Christian? What's in your heart? Of course they love you today. Tomorrow, after you get married, morning trash. You're just like them. You've lowered yourself. You went down, 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 down. That's not the Christian's call today, friend. It's a rosy path to sin. There's a danger in wanting something you don't already have. There's a danger in going somewhere you've not already been. And there's a danger in associating with people you don't already know. Look at that again there with Samson in verse 11. And it came to pass when they saw him that they brought 30 companions to be with him. Bachelor party. But these are godless people. They don't know the Lord. These aren't good Christian guys, God-fearing guys. They're pagans. They worship Baal and Moloch and Dagon. I think actually they worship Dagon. If you want to see what Dagon looks like, well, maybe I should leave that alone. Little white hat on a man that lives in Italy. He's got a hat that looks just like Dagon. Dagon is a fish. Then, lastly, yay! There's a danger of wrongly affecting those people you already do know. There's a danger in wrongly affecting those people you already do know. Christians, I want to talk to you that have older children now, that have already left the house. God has not called you to compromise and dip your colors to satisfy the whims of your child. I'm not going to follow my wayward child into sin. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to compromise my beliefs. You say, but you have to reach him. Okay, so if I don't believe in that philosophy for the world in church, why would I practice it with my own family? You see the danger there? We need to be cautious about that. And it's a huge temptation. I know it is. I've lived it. I know what I'm saying here. I'm not talking about those people over there. I've lived it. It's a huge temptation just to say, well, honey, whatever you think, whatever you say. No! We've got standards. We've got convictions in this life of Christianity. And as soon as I dip my colors or compromise my beliefs for my family, what are they really saying in their mind? I knew it. I knew it. They don't really believe in what they say they believe. You better preach it through your life, Christian. Preach it through your actions, not your words. There's a danger in these things. Look at what happened here to Samson and his parents. There went his parents. Okay, honey, we'll go with you down into the land of sin. And realistically, mom and dad should have said, you're a grown boy. If you want to go down there, you want to marry some lost girl, you go ahead, but don't expect me to go with you. See, we as Christians, we just don't have the gumption to do these things anymore. Well, but what if we break up the family and they'll never talk to us and they won't bring the kids by? Christian parent, they're the one that made that decision, not you. Your child already came to that conclusion. I can't be, no. You say, well, man, you must be a nasty father to be around. Maybe I am. I don't know. Am I, Bud? I don't know. But he's not my son, so you don't have to worry about it. But there's a danger. And this is what I'm talking about. That path to sin. Everything is fine. Everything is rosy. The sun is shining on my face. Yes, until you get to your destination it is. Think about the beer commercials they show on television. There's some guy there, he doesn't have a shirt on, so he can show his buff stuff, six-pack, and he's all tan. He's riding a boat. He's got his beer in his hand. And there's bikini-clad women all around him. Everybody's happy. That's the rosy pathway. That's the rosy pathway to sin. That's not the end product of broken homes and broken lives and destroyed marriages and children that have to grow up in that mess and live with that for the rest of their lives. Daddy comes home drunk and waving a gun around, smacking people around. They won't show you that on television, do they? See, they came to the end of that rose-covered path, didn't they? They don't want to show you that. Young person, there is pleasure in sin for a season. Hey, look up here. Look up here. There is pleasure in sin for a season. And you can go out and you can play around in the world all you want to. But that rose-covered path comes to an end. It comes to an end. And when you get to that destination, honey, she ain't so pretty anymore. This is something we need to be telling our homes, our families, our children. Let's look up here. Put all your stuff away and look up here. I'm almost done. I only asked for about an hour of your life. We can say, preacher, I'm having fun. I'm having the time of my life. Today you are. Today you are. Tomorrow is very different. Tomorrow is very different. And can I tell you this? I have teens from this church that call me all the time that are 32, 34, 36 years old today. They were in my youth group. Pastor Thompson, my family, my home, my life is ruined because you wouldn't listen to me. Instead, you listened to the sweet Pied Piper named Satan. And he led you down that rosy path. And everything looked great. And we're drinking it up and just having a good old time. Party, 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 party. You go ahead. That rose-covered pathway comes to an abrupt end. And at the end of that path is nothing but tears and pain. Oh, save the lecture. I hope somebody will listen to me today. And not just the ones that have already been down the path. Somebody that hasn't been down the path. I'll read you this little list and we're all done. 7 signs of a backslider. Oh, I said it. I said the word, bud. Backslider. 7 signs of a backslider. They justify their own behavior. They are deceived and stubborn. They refuse to seek God on their decisions because they know God would say no. They refuse to exalt God to his rightful place. See, and really, Christian, if I would put God in his right place and me in my right place, that would solve the whole problem right there. That would solve the whole problem. They focus on looking back. They have a heart that is far from God. And they do what they want to based on what they think is right. There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. See, when I start looking and saying, well, this seems to be the right thing, it looks good, it feels right, you're headed for destruction. That's that rosy pathway. And I hope I'm talking to nobody in this room, but I can't fool myself into believing that. There's a man right now, young man. He's on that rosy little pathway. And if I said the name, you'd all know who I'm talking about. He's on that rosy pathway. Everything's cool and groovy and fun and awesome. Till he winds up in prison. How about you today? Are you on that pathway? Well, preacher, I'm here. Obviously, I'm not on that pathway. You can be in a good place like church and be drifting far from the shore. Each of us need to check ourselves, check our hearts. Ask the Lord, Father, am I right with you today? Am I thoroughly right with you? And ask this question of God. I do this on a regular basis, at least 2-3 times a week. Father, is there anything in my life that is standing between me and you? Anything. And when I do this, I'm not trying to be showy or anything like that, but I cover my eyes like this. And when I do that and I pray that, the Lord will put pictures in my mind. He will show me what I've been doing. He'll bring it back to your remembrance. He will show you. You ask him. He's not going to have a big booming voice out of the sky, but he will show you, and then you have to go, oh yeah, whoops. That's how we have a clean accounts with the Lord. Ask him instead of basing things on what I think is the right thing. There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. I hope that's not you today, friend. Let's pray.